You know, George, there are a lot of actors who are actually pretty good baseball players. Billy Crystal, Kurt Russell. Now,
Right.
now you tried out for a baseball team, Cincinnati Reds. Now, what was the tryout like, and how traumatic for you at the time not making the team?
No, well, not so traumatic. It was kind of a wake-up call. I was 16 the first time I did it. I did it twice, and it was Doug Flynn, who was a player. It was a utility player for the Reds at the time. His father was running the tryouts. Went down to Lexington, Kentucky, and it was the tryouts then, and I'm sure they're probably still the same. Was the first thing is just arm and speed, because everything else they can teach you. They can teach you how to catch. They can teach you how to hit. They just can't teach you how to throw hard, and they can't teach you how to run fast. And pretty quickly, because I was a good hitter and I could catch anything, you know, but pretty quickly that, you know, I think I threw a ball and bounced it in front of the cutoff guy, and I think that was about it for me. I was like 16 years old. But, you know, I was a good ball player. It was fun. It just wasn't, the great thing about it being no trauma was up until that point I thought I'd be a professional baseball player, and then later I thought I might rebound. But there was a real understanding when you go from being one of the better players in, you know, around in high schools to being just one of a million guys. You start to realize when a curveball is, you know, 85 miles an hour and you're ducking out, that's a completely different game.
Okay. You know, the locations in this movie, now the prison. Now, how edgy was the cast and crew before you went there, and how knowledgeable were the people there about your acting credits?
They didn't really know me that much. They're not allowed to watch that much television there.
Not even must-see TV?
Yeah, they let them see Friends. It's a little message for Jennifer Aniston that I'm not allowed to give. No, they knew me a little bit. They recognized me because they'd been around for a while or something. So they kind of knew me a little bit. We weren't on edge, although there was a moment when you first go into general population, and it's 5,000 capital offenders, and that's a wake-up call in a way. And then this kind of other thing takes over where you're talking to these kids, and most of them are 17, 18 years old, and you look at them and you think, boy, I tell you, I was never put in the position most of these kids were put in, and most of it's about education or about money or about things that are drugs or things that weren't issues when I was growing up. And you think, man, I don't know that I'm allowed to, now, you know, they hurt someone, so they should be in jail, but I don't know that I'm allowed to judge them, you know, because I don't think I was ever faced with the kind of issues that they were faced with. So it was traumatic in a way for all of us, because what starts off as like, they're a bunch of, you know, prisoners. And you sit there later going, man, that's a tough one.
You know, I love the scene in the bank, the give and take between the bank teller.
Yeah.
Now, next time you go to a bank,
right?
Now, are you anticipating a different type of feedback from the tellers?
Well, I don't talk to the ATM that much, which is where I go. That's my favorite place. Although I have talked to an ATM a couple of times when I've exceeded my limit in Vegas. But no, I'm not too worried about that, because, you know, I was nice to the girl. And she was nice to me back. I just walked out with some cash. That was it was the first 4 or 5 pages in the script, and I read those 4 or 5 pages, and I called my best friend, and I said, I just found the movie I'm going to do, after looking for 9 months for a movie.
And quick last question. I've always been impressed how professional, friendly you are in these interviews,
right,
meeting like hundreds of people. Your dad, of course, is in the public eye.
Yes.
Working as a TV anchorman, what did he teach you about dealing with the public?
Even before he was an anchorman, he was he had a variety show. He was always kind of in Cincinnati. He was kind of a utility infielder in Cincinnati in a way. You just learned that you have to try and be nice to people. That's all. I mean, you have to do the best you can to treat people as best you can, and be fair, and draw certain lines at times and stand by those lines. You know, that's all. But you know, he's a good guy. It's funny, I'm going to be doing an interview for this movie with him. That's going to be really interesting. I've never, I think, been interviewed by my father before. I'm going to blame everything on him. Whatever you say, Dad.